ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Supernatural Selection. I'm your host, Kevin the Bastard, and with me this week are Mike the Skeptic. Mike, how are you?
Very tired.
Same here. We have been working a lot, and we have got Mr. David Davis. David, how are you doing? We missed you last week.
I lived, bitch.
Oh no! Whatever will we do?
The host that lived.
He's got like some kind of a scar on his forehead, but instead of a lightning bolt, it's like a grade book.
It's a dick.
This is a check mark.
It's dick butt.
Oh, dick butt.
Oh, we miss you, Casey. All right. So, let's see. We've got some housekeeping right up top. First off, a reminder that if you leave us a review on iTunes / Apple Podcasts / whatever they're calling it right now, we will read that review at the top of the show as soon as it goes live. That being said, we have no new reviews, so moving on. We have a new store with merchandise with some amazing art that David did. Thank you for that, by the way, with each of us as cryptids. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool. And you can find that at our website, supernatpod.rocks. The link is at the top of the page. So, yeah, go check them out and get something. It's still time to get some stuff in for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to have some stickers of Archbishop Zipnack. I'm going to redraw that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. We're also looking for advertisers. Our rates are reasonable and somewhat negotiable, so please use the contact link at the top of the website. Again, supernatpod.rocks. And we would love to advertise your product and or service.
Kevin, can I pay you $5 to advertise my product and or service?
What is your product and or service?
D's.
Why did I not see that coming? So you can also find us on Mastodon. We are at hang on. Let me get this right now. At SupernatPod at horrorhub.club.
Yeah.
So we're on the horrorhub.club instance. You can find us there. It's a real cool community of like-minded freaks.
Mm-hmm. And we'll also have a link on the, to probably replace the Twitter link on the website.
That will be coming this weekend since I've got a little bit of time off. We are also, of course, on our Discord. You can go in there, join us, the rest of the fans, and become a mantis cuck like all of us.
Come shitpost with us.
Shitpost with us. Join in the horrors. Occasionally, Mike is in there.
I check it every once in a blue moon.
This is true. So, this week, we're finally returning to The Men in Black with Return of Off the Rack Assholes.
Mm-hmm.
So, David, do you want to get us started here? This is the first one you and I have both worked on together, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we're going to be kind of doing this more going forward to make it kind of easy on both of us.
I think so.
Yeah. So, I kind of want to grease us up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby.
Grease me up.
Yeah.
I want to put us in the mood for this topic.
You can't catch me.
You're wasting your time.
So this is like podcast foreplay.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I spin on my hands a little bit and coax you. So.
I don't think I call it foreplay so much as prep work.
There you go.
It's
so
way more business-like.
I wanted to talk about this video I've known about for a couple of years. I think you probably are both familiar with it, but it seems like a good time today to kind of discuss, and I think it's going to get us in the mood here. Yes. Yeah,
this is one that I was trying to find after our previous episode and couldn't find it.
Oh, there we go. So here I am to the rescue.
Yeah.
So this is a video that went viral. It depicts a Men in Black encounter. The title for this upload specifically is Alien Abduction Men in Black Manipulation, uploaded by a user on YouTube named Andres Mavier. Andres Mavier.
It's got an umlaut over the A.
Yeah. So, Yeah, so I had you gentlemen watch it. So
That's the first time I've ever heard and or watched it.
Oh,
Kevin apparently was
okay.
familiar with it.
Oh, yeah, if it's Men in Black on YouTube, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So what did we think of this video?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's
Mike, you go first.
Look, having done our mid-20s film fever, I can say this is well done for someone's mid-20s film fever.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like somebody watched like Clerks and then the Blair Witch Project and were like, I can do that.
So you know the video itself pretty fun in a sort of lo-fi aesthetic.
Sure, yeah.
Someone on the YouTube comments described it as conspiracy ASMR, which I love.
Oh, the dude's like whispering the whole time. It's like, sure.
Yeah, and it's super intense, loud whispering. Like if he's trying to be stealthy, he's practically like screaming it.
If this were D&D, he has just rolled a 1 on his sneak roll.
Exactly. Well, and let's describe what the video is. I mean, we're going to have a link to the video in the notes and on the episode upload.
Yes.
But yeah, what's the video? How would we describe it?
All right, so it's a security guard. There's a lot of holes in this, but it's a security guard recording with his phone the screen of the security system, showing an alleged encounter of a receptionist
Yes.
at a law firm in Anchorage, Alaska, and her having disappeared. Now,
And you know, there's some high strangeness going on in there. It's pretty well executed.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd argue. I mean,
don't
okay,
know.
look. I mean,
I would,
obviously, yeah.
I would think high strangeness would mean there's something obviously not explainable. Like, there's no levitating things or
but
anything.
he takes control of her mind.
Yeah, let's buy into the logic of the video.
Sure.
And let's just assume this is real. Like, him exerting his will over her is, I would argue, high strangeness.
Yeah, Mike, just for...
It's like high versus low fantasy.
It's low... Is it lo-fi high strangeness?
No, I'm just saying high or low fantasy.
Okay.
I think this... I don't know. I mean... It just seems too...
Staged?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, okay, but like again,
I guess what
like,
it's supposed
let's
to
buy
depict.
into the situation. Just for let's buy into the situation just to kind of play along here. But
Sure.
the you see him manipulate her in such a way that it's interesting. It's kind of creepy.
It just shuts her higher brain functions down and she turns into a puppet. And yes, I'm going to admit that, like, premise-wise, this is terrifying.
Yeah, so, you know, this isn't the first version of this that I've seen, but this is the one that I can most easily find.
Right. Like I said, I've been trying to find it for a year now, and this is the first time I've seen a link to it, which that's kind of odd, because every time I find it and add it to my favorites on YouTube, the account gets deleted. So you do the math.
Well, and you know, there's also something going on with a discussion thread about it, which I'll talk about a little bit. But
Okay.
You know, before we move forward, Kevin, you know me and my love of horror, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know I don't get freaked out easily.
Yeah.
But things like this video, I found it pretty creepy. I like it.
Sure. I think it would have been creepier if dude had shut the fuck up for a minute.
Yeah, like obviously, like the window dressing kind of it makes it cheesy. Don't get me wrong, but like, you know, the whole wrapping around it. So this is on some Estonian YouTuber's channel who uploads goofy videos. Like one of the videos on his list is literally that viral clip of the crashed TIE fighter on the side of the road.
Okay.
With the stormtroopers waving the people by.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like obviously, like I think there's a tongue-in-cheek nature to this. But I still think, like, the video footage of the alleged encounter works as a kind of unsettling, tongue-in-cheek kind of way to kick off what we're going to talk about.
Right. And that's fair. And I do have a couple of thoughts I want to share. First off, this video works better on mute. And if you cut it down to just the part where you see the man in black. Secondly... The main reason I think this is fake is that the MIB is too competent and he actually accomplishes something.
Yeah.
Because
Like, again, it's one of those things where it's like kind of creepy in the way that like
Sure.
how smooth that thing goes.
yeah, no, it's creepy. But again, she didn't throw a pin or anything. Yeah, they're not normally known for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mike, you had some thoughts. Please share.
Yeah. So, couple of thoughts here.
Okay.
Having both, worked in security and
Yeah.
some of my other, hobbies and things. So he's a security guard for a very small law firm. It's a little sus, really.
No, I thought that too.
But even that, so small office firms like this aren't best known for their data integrity policies. So him claiming he can't export a file. Look, I worked in security in a very large building, and I once had a homeless man walk through the lobby while masturbating. And I was easily able to export a copy of that footage
And let me
off of
tell you
our
something.
console.
Every time we have someone new start at work,
Well,
Mike,
not every time. I haven't shown the newer people.
okay,
but
true, but I love getting Mike to show people this because he can't
I forget
see
about it.
anything. But dude is obviously jacking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I when he turned towards me and walked to the desk, I was like, oh.
Oh, it's great. Mike
That's-
just goes from sitting and to standing without passing any of the space in between,
Just
pointing
like,
at the
get out!
It's fucking hilarious.
And my brain started thinking, like, wait, well, I want him to get out, yes, but I also need to call the police.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my point there
So you're
is
saying that guy came at you half cocked?
yes, he did. Well, yeah, I mean, it was a
Half
little
cock,
floppy.
but was he full mass?
No, he was floppy.
Well, he was in public, and it's you.
But anyway, so my point there was that it's pretty easy to get copies of raw copies of the footage off.
And speaking of that, Mike, sorry, go ahead.
And so, which brings me to the next point: is this does not look like any security camera package I've ever seen, or software package.
Right.
I've seen a lot of them, and they all looked exactly the same. Mm-hmm. Like from different companies, they all are really shitty interface looking, and this just looks like a Windows Media Player window that happens to say Cam 1 at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was QuickTime.
No, if you look back, it's a earlier version of Windows Media. It has those silver buttons on the bottom.
Now,
I defer to my elder.
Oh no, it could be QuickTime, I guess.
Now, the other thing I was going to say, speaking of what you were just talking about, Mike, oh my God, I lost the point. Fuck.
If I keep talking, you'll.
Yeah, forget it.
But the reason I think it's it could be QuickTime on Windows because it has the Windows close minimize buttons.
Yeah.
But another point. So she's a receptionist. She has a gun in her drawer.
Yeah.
When she grabs the gun and pulls it out, it's obvious she has never held a gun in her life.
Her finger is not in the trigger. She is not pointing at the gentleman.
And she's holding it like it's
gun safety.
A dead. No, she's not even practicing gun safety. She's holding it like a dead fish. She's not holding with any kind of fear or authority or anything. She's just kind of like, I have a thing I'm supposed to hold for this.
Which is kind of weird for being in Alaska.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
if you're an Alaskan,
seriously,
I hear a lot of them, are proficient, or at least, know and use firearms.
Well, I mean, you never know when you're going to be working at a law firm and then a grizzly just comes in.
Oh, yeah, the Gibbs, the grizzlies in black.
Yeah, no. Grizzly comes in, you got to pop a cap in it, and bam. Not only do you have food, you can wear the fur home because it's always freezing.
And the other thing is that, this is more of a nuanced discussion because a lot of people can, a woman alone in an office could see a different threat than me.
Sure, no, totally.
But generally, if you have a firearm, you're only presenting it in when you're actually, think there's a threat. Yeah. He didn't seem very threatening other than not leaving when she seemed to tell him to. and she just whips it out there.
You know, it's going to be funny. It turns out he just walks up. Do you know John Keel? John Keel is a liar. Do you have a pen? I would like a pen. And that's all that it was.
And so, you know, that those are a little fishy. Now, reading the comments, which was a mistake, but apparently someone said that there is some other video of her where she talks about why this happened, that supposedly she was why the man in black had her pull her camera out.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Like, I'm not going to dive into it too much because this is obviously fake.
But she apparently reappeared later and was able to recount these things.
That in the YouTube channel and in the Above Top Secret forum thread about this, which it's quality if it's from Above Top Secret.
Yeah, no, because that means it's available on the internet.
Yeah, they also were trying to link it to a disappearance in Alaska, which, a lot of people go missing in Alaska.
Well, bears, of course.
Well, serial killers as well.
Yeah, but the thing is like there was this like little bit of weirdness where there was an article published by some Alaskan news website that talked about a woman going missing, and then like the article 404s and everything like that. That could be explained with a whole bunch of stuff. But I think a larger point to that, though, is, it charges that debate around the existence of Men in Black. It's that kind of like outside stuff that gives us that thrill in that regard. So, there's all sorts of different outside factors that bolster belief in something like this, but it's a lot of this like piggybacking on other mysteries, which I feel is super important for what I'm going to talk about later tonight.
Right.
But I kind of see it as a thread in all the stories we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sort of thing with a missing person like you're talking about, if you really know how to work it, it's perfect fuel for your viral video projects starring your friends who want to be actors.
Yeah, and that's why so many ARGs are so fun, because if you know how to like dial into that stuff and create the fake news website to perpetuate that sort of thing. That's why Blair Witch was such a huge deal when it came out in the early days of the internet.
Right, and I mean, because it was also like the first big found footage movie to really
Yeah. Like, so again, it's this thing where like the video itself pretty cheesy, but when you factor in like people bringing in their own experiences in the YouTube comments, or then saying, oh, hey, yeah, no, this happened around the time a woman named Nicole went missing in Alaska. That sort of stuff is what kind of pushes it forward.
Well, again, this all kind of, it's people making something real, like, Slender Man. But But we're not talking about Slender Man tonight. We're talking about Men in Black. And
he is a man in a black suit.
He is, but typical Men in Black have faces and don't have tentacles sticking out their backs.
Not necessarily. A lot of Men in Black are described as featureless.
Slender Man is just a man in black that has gone rogue.
No, I think he's
been put on a rack.
He's gone native. He wants to. He just wants to, live his best life.
I love children.
Yeah.
In the Slender Mansion.
Come and be my proxy.
So, as a slight tangent, Men in Black and Slender Man, does that speak to a inherent untrust to authority of us?
I think so.
Suits,
Yeah. And also, I kind of feel like if Slender Man is related to the Men in Black, he's like the last boss fight of the game, where you're just shooting your way through Men in Black, and then you get to Slender Man.
Excuse me. He's the king Man in Black.
Yes.
No, you go through
He's the
like
queen.
secret men. You go through the secret Men in Black facility, and they get like more and more grotesque and like primordial as you go deeper and deeper into the facility.
Because they're older and more,
Eldridge.
Twisted, and I don't know, maybe they did experiments on each other.
No, what it is they don't have to be around people as much, so they can be weirder. It all depends on how high up you are on the chain of command.
Well, see, as a Man in Black grows, he can't like fit into the
car.
No, the person mold anymore.
Oh, okay. Like
there you go.
Gotcha. I like that.
There's just the oldest Man in Black is just like the size of a small airplane hangar, and just like
but
hanging from cables from the ceiling.
But
With
why
hooks.
does the larger Men in Black not simply eat the smaller ones?
Because
They're faster.
Well, there's children or the ones that feed them.
Yes.
There you go.
Servants, yeah. They just throw hamburgers at him. So,
Yeah, didn't Men in Black eat weird things like car
bleach.
batteries?
Bleach. They drank
Oh, yeah.
bleach.
Yeah, he needs them to go get him bleach and bring it back.
Yep. Well, I mean, they don't even know what fucking Jell-O is, so it gets weird. So, our first real topic tonight, after that interesting little discussion, is Brad Steiger, actually. So, my sources for my stories tonight are from Nick Redfern's book, Men in Black, Personal Stories and Eerie Adventures. And this is one of Nick's many books on the subject of Men in Black, and I do recommend you check them out. If the name Nick Redfern is familiar, check back on our first episode, Off the Rack Assholes. Now, our first story, like I said, is about the author and investigator Brad Steiger. Have either of you guys ever heard of him?
I mean, I hear you gibber a lot about names, so I'm sure that one's come up.
Sure.
I've probably absorbed it through the larger pop culture of Men in Black sightings.
Right, and various other investigations. He's written something like 80 books. His wife's written 40. I mean, like, they're prolific as hell. So Brad was a researcher.
So he's the Chuck Tingle of UFOs.
Kind of.
Pounded in the butt by my fear of the Men in Black.
Actually, I kind of feel like Nick Redfern is more of the Chuck Tingle of the Men in Black paranormal world, pounded in the butt by the rare blood type that's aliens, stuff like that. So Brad Steiger was a researcher into the paranormal and had many run-ins with the unexplained. Unexplained! He also was never one to let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Ah, one of them.
Yeah. If anything I'm about to relate to you guys is true, it's that when you look into this stuff, it does tend to look back at you. So, something to remember. Do not approach these sorts of topics lightly. Synchronicities will creep up and just beat the shit out of you. So one of the things I did not get into in our last episode, and I'm not going to get into too much this time, are the Men in Black's phone shenanigans.
What, like they're prank calling people?
Yes. John Key...
It's Bart Simpson-esque.
It is. It kind of is. Now, John...
May I speak to huge ass?
Yeah. John Keel and other researchers have reported bizarre static, clicking sounds, and voices while discussing UFOs on the phone. Now, even Henry Zabrowski and Marcus Parks of last podcast have had this happen on a few occasions where they were discussing conspiracies in the paranormal. They would hear a click and breathing on the line.
That's just perverts.
Okay, that's fair, but it's NSA perverts. Now, Brad had something a bit more interesting, though, because he's not going to be one-upped.
Now, I've been getting a lot of robocalls that have that, like, clicking and breathing. Do those count?
That depends on if they're trying to sell you something or they're trying to tell you to quit it.
I've had some calls that are just, like, they click, and then you hear a little breathing, and then nothing.
I've had those, too, at work. They're weird.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
During the late 60s, Brad's phone calls with fellow researchers would repeatedly be interrupted by a third voice. It would just cut in and start yelling, "Ho, ho, UFO! Ho, ho, UFO!" until they had to hang up and end the phone call.
It's like a MUFON Baba Booey.
I kind of like the idea of Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey, UFO, Baba Booey.
So you're saying that you said the 60s?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that still had, like, operators.
Yes. Probably so.
Interesting.
Well, they showed him in Mad Men, so probably,
Yeah. Now, to quote Brad's own account of another incident, I quote, "A friend who had been doing a great deal of research on my behalf told of the time when he was anticipating a visit from me. He picked up the telephone to make a call on his private line, only to hear the following bit of conversation. Has Steiger arrived in town yet? Not yet. What motel will he be staying in? The correct name of the motel in which I had made reservations. Don't worry, everything is set. At this point, my friend broke in and asked who the hell was on his private line. There was a stunned silence, a click, and then the steady buzzing of a clear line.
Agent Beige is going to be disciplined for that one.
Oh, yes. Now, another time, Brad had checked into a hotel room before a conference and found some of his luggage was missing. So he picked up the phone to call the front desk and found someone else was already on the line asking a third person, when's he supposed to check in? Steiger replies with, I'm already in my room. And then someone on the line yells, oh shit! And they both hung up. I'm sorry. I just find it amusing.
Yeah, like no, if it's a Men in Black, if it's a Man in Black, like them yelling "oh shit" like that is just such a funny thing.
I know, and I don't know. Again, I find it really hard to take Men in Black seriously with shit like this being the norm.
I mean, so they're competent enough to like follow someone and get into all their like communications and stuff, but incompetent enough to be found out a lot.
Apparently. Now, Steiger's most interesting, let's call it a fight with the MIBs, was during the 1970s and early 80s when they began sending out fake Bob Steigers to conventions and lectures.
Doppelganger.
Sorry, Brad Steiger. My bad. But yes.
So they were sending them out and not just like crazy people like trying to...
Well, Steiger's convinced it was Men in Black doing it. Now, they would very often be rude to attendees at the conferences, yelling that they were all idiots for believing in UFOs and aliens, and they would be unruly and loud and just disrupt things, and they would be like, well, we're never having Brad Steiger back. Now, strangely, other times, a fake would be extremely well behaved and deliver strikingly thoughtful and beautiful speeches on the subjects and claim to be a contactee of aliens from the moons of Jupiter.
This just sounds like various states of inebriation to me.
Doesn't it, though? And the thing is, Steiger... I wish I could say Steiger didn't believe in contactee movement stuff where people were channeling aliens. But he did. But he never claimed to be a channeler. Now, the most interesting story of the doppelganger, though, is the Carl Sagan debate.
What?
Yes. People started congratulating Steiger on having met Carl Sagan in a restaurant, getting into a heated discussion about the reality of UFOs, and then just mopping the floor with Carl Sagan for like an hour. In some circles, this has gone down in legend.
They also mentioned his beautiful model girlfriend and his hog's impressive length and girth.
Jesus Christ. Yes, his girlfriend who lives in Canada. And Mike, then everyone started clapping. Yeah, it just sounds like one of those stories. Now, the problem with this is that Steiger wasn't at the conference that this happened after. He was on the East Coast while the debate happened in California. Now, further, he'd never even met Carl Sagan, and Sagan, being who he was, would never admit to being involved in a debate about UFOs, let alone losing one. Now, not to say Steiger doesn't seem to take some pride in the verbal prowess of his doppelganger.
You know, on the other hand, it's hilarious to be proud of something your doppelganger did.
Yeah, here's some shit I didn't do that I have, like, inordinate pride in. Now, overall, Steiger began to think that the origins of the Men in Black are with mundane sources, like UFO investigation groups showing up dressed well, and actual government spooks. but that at some point, an entity or entities of some kind latched onto the idea of the Men in Black and the fear that Albert K. Bender created with them and started using it for its own purposes. Basically, an egregore or tulpa.
Which, like, you know, holy shit, that's something that we should unpack at some point. The MIB as an egregore or tulpa.
Oh, totally. We need to do something about that.
Mostly because it would annoy Mike.
Yes. Basically, living imaginary friends would piss Mike off so bad, right?
I don't think it would annoy me any more than any other subject.
Okay, that's fair. But I just picture you just shaking your head a lot.
Well, you know.
Well, he's doing it right now.
Yeah.
You're not imagining anything.
Doing it now.
Now, as for if any of what I've just talked about happened, why would you let that get in the way of a good story? What do you guys think?
Are we... Oh.
I don't know.
Are we sure Steiger wasn't one of the doppelgangers?
No.
What about Rod Stewart?
Rod Stewart?
Rod Stewart.
Oh, yeah, no, I can imagine him getting up there and just singing, "If you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come on, UFOs, let me know."
Sounds like a crone singing that. Like just an old woman who lives in a shoe. And I hate it.
Well, Mike did, in fact, say Rod Stewart, so...
Same difference.
Yeah. Yep.
Woo!
Yep. No, look, he's a very talented man, but that voice. I don't know. I agree with you that this really just sounds like Steiger getting blackout.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it's a good way to kind of like come up with a fun excuse for him being kind of a bore.
I'm not an alcoholic. The Men in Black are out after me.
Oh, you're thinking about my doppelganger.
Yeah, that was certainly not me.
Mm-hmm.
So, David, you've got, like, a big one to talk about, right?
Yeah, because it's me.
Is it as big as Brad Steiger's hog?
Probably not. Or at least that's what Brad Steiger claims.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit of a long one, and guess what? It's part of probably what's going to be a longer topic.
Well, I mean,
because that's how I roll.
If you didn't do this, the show would have ended months ago. So,
fair enough.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the Maury Island incident.
Now, is this Maury Povich Island?
Unfortunately not. They don't let him on the island anymore.
Okay, so it's not near Connie Chung Sound.
No, it is not.
Okay.
So, gentlemen, does the name Kenneth Arnold mean anything to you?
Are you seriously asking me this shit?
Yes, it's called Flavor.
Okay. Yes. Yes, it fucking does. Mike, do you know anything about Kenneth Arnold?
Tom Arnold's brother.
Isn't he the kid from the Wonder Years? No, I'm just
No, that was
Kevin Arnold.
Oh, fair
By
enough.
the way, just a little note, when I was looking through the outline, I did have to correct where you wrote Kevin Arnold at one point. I was like, you son of a
that
bitch.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
Woo, okay. So, so obviously, like, Kevin, you have an understanding of who Kenneth Arnold is.
Yeah.
Mike, yeah, this is probably going to be some new stuff for you, but it's important. We're going to be talking about this guy again at some point.
Oh, we're going to talk about him a lot in the future.
Yeah, so, based on my reading, it appears that Kenneth Arnold can be blamed for a lot of what we're doing right now on this podcast.
Farting quietly and hoping no one hears it over the microphone?
Yes. No, but he's generally considered to have reported the first modern UFO sighting in the U.S.
Yes.
And I noticed in the notes here that you mentioned where, but I have that later on in the explanation.
I noticed that, and I was like, well, we'll just pretend I didn't say that.
Yeah, don't you ever fucking step on my lines.
Yeah, fuck off.
I know what I'm doing. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so...
I just wanted to make my knowledge known.
No, you did.
Yes.
So, okay, so beyond this UFO encounter that we're going to talk about a little bit, he's one of the first real investigators of UFOs and UAPs that we have. And he's central to our story, but his encounter of the first kind predates the event that we're actually going to be discussing.
Right.
And again, I want to mention him because we're going to discuss him a lot in the future. I have plans for this guy.
Oh, I just fucking bet you do.
Yeah, it's like I do episode research for one episode, and I get like 3 other ideas going through it. So that's how we roll.
Scope creep.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God. This podcast is just a freaking metaphor for, what's that video game, Mike?
What video game?
The one you kickstarted and you're never going to get...
Star Citizen.
Star Citizen, that's it.
The podcast
I was
version.
gonna-
No, only if we start, like, taking money for, new cryptids that we never deliver. Hey, wait a minute.
Speaking of, if you'd like to donate to our Patreon... All right, let's move on.
Well, I say it's equivalent to like going on a wiki binge where you just go to one article on whatever wiki and you're just like clicking and soon you have like 7 tabs open.
Yeah, God forbid you get me on the Warhammer 40k wiki.
Exactly. So, as for what I want us to know about him right now, here are a couple of brief notes, and we'll flesh this out later on. But
Right.
He was born March 29th, 1915 in Sabika, Minnesota.
Oh, it's
Sambuca.
probably Sabika.
Probably Sabika, yeah.
Oh, don't you
No,
know?
it's north, so it's probably Sebica.
Sabika. Okay. I don't give a
just
fuck.
talking about
Anyway.
It's Seppuku. It's Seppuku, Minnesota.
So he died on January 16th, 1984 in Bellevue, Washington.
That's a lot later than I thought.
He was an aviator, businessman, and politician. He had won Idaho's Republican gubernatorial nomination in 1962, but would lose the general election. So he's kind of a fairly normal guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, but well, do you really want me to go into how many politicians have seen UFOs?
That's fair. There's also the politician who writes about the Bigfoot thrillers.
Yeah.
Or are they erotic thrillers?
They're
I don't
erotica.
remember.
They're just straight
Oh,
up.
man, we need to get one of those and read it. Anyway.
yeah.
And just so he doesn't seem like such a straight-laced dude, I do want to point out this really stupid, nerdy thing. He also campaigned for Barry Goldwater and flew a banner with the slogan AU H2O 64.
So
Goldwater 64.
Oh, God damn it. I was about to say, I was like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, it's gold? And, oh, God damn it.
Yep.
So, just again, kind of a normal guy, pretty respectable in all regards, and then he pulls shit like that.
Well, again, he saw flying saucers.
Yeah. Okay. So, as for his sighting that he had, I'm going to cover it another time, but what I want us to know is that on June 24th, 1947, he spotted 9 UFOs flying past Mount Rainier, and it was the first post-World War II sighting of UFOs with the first instance of, like, national coverage. He basically kicked off that era.
He kicked off the UFO era, and like you were saying, this is the first post-Foo Fighter. Not to be confused with the band.
Now, I've got a quote here from the Skeptical Inquirer.
Okay.
On June 24th, 1947, private pilot Kenneth Arnold saw 9 objects in a 5-mile-long formation moving like a, quote, a saucer skipped across water. Probably a phenomenon called mountaintop mirages. So, Mike, can you explain a little bit about how that might work, this mountaintop mirages thing?
I mean, I'm not familiar with the the phenomenon described, but I do know that people think of the atmosphere as, just very static and very, the thing is, the atmosphere, depending on temperature and pressure, can be very striated. You could have little layers, and those layers can be vastly, you can have like very cold and very warm layers, and when they I forget the term for it. There's a term when you have a very cold and very warm layer that has very little separation, and that boundary layer there can have some interesting optical properties. Trying to think, okay, I've lost it. There's several well-known phenomenon that come about from just that kind of boundary layer
yeah, and with
phenomenon.
the movement of the clouds and the reflective properties of the water that's in the clouds,
Yeah.
like it can really mess with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's
So-
the thing, is that boundary layer, just because it has such, warm and cold airs in such close proximity, it can, gather a lot of moisture, which also will change, your refraction index and stuff. That'll, make you just see things. You'll see, it'll be almost like a mirror sometimes. That's what it was. It was the that inversion that a lot of Asian towns saw recently, not recently, but like a year or two ago, was basically like a giant mirror in the sky.
Oh, is this where you see a?
But yeah, you see
town
like
from
looks like
far away?
cities in the sky.
Yes.
And yeah, it's
Isn't
just
that called
from
parabola?
no, that's a different thing.
Okay.
But it's basically
Still.
just because of a temporal difference, and you have like just this layer of water that gets trapped there.
Right.
It just kind of basically looks like a mirror. It looks like the surface of a lake.
Well, can I just say I've been trying not to scream at both you for trying to debunk the Kenneth Arnold case. So,
Well, yeah,
go
I'm making a point here,
yourselves.
sir.
Okay.
I'm making
so-
a point here, sir. Right along with me here.
Okay.
Trust me.
All right.
Trust the process.
Sure.
So, water, the mountaintop mirages, okay, yeah, I mean, I could see that. Or it could just be pelicans because it is always fucking
God
pelicans.
damn it.
That's one claim and an example of the larger pelicanism trend, which is a new term that I love.
That is true. There are a lot of people saying that UFO sightings are pelicans because they're basically flying mirrors, according to skeptics.
Hey, I never said that.
Not you.
Pelicans are
but
made of aluminum or something. I don't
I
know.
don't
They're
know.
very white,
made of.
They also, from the pictures I've seen lately, try to eat everything, like
They do.
capybaras and humans and I don't know, anything they can try to put their mouth around.
I love that video of the pelican that just eats the pigeon.
Yeah. Oh
Yes.
yeah. Yes. Yeah.
It's horrifying, but also just like it lives.
Didn't it like
pretty
lay out
firmly
a
in my
little bit
memory.
of fish to lure the pigeon? Or are they thinking of
I
something
don't
else?
remember. I don't remember,
Pelicans
but I
are
wouldn't
just-
put it past that crafty son of a bitch.
Yeah.
They're just reflective assholes. That's it.
Exactly.
Isn't that also
Okay.
flying saucers? Reflective assholes.
Shut up.
There you go.
No,
well,
that's
I mean,
the
technically, I'm going to be
aliens.
talking about some reflective assholes right now.
Yeah,
So,
let's get on with it.
That's also why the porn stars use bleach?
Oh, God. That's why the men in
All
black
right.
need the bleach.
Ah, yes, for their reflective assholes.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the actual incident in question, because we have that whole thing with Kenneth Arnold. He's already on the map. His
Right.
encounter predates Roswell, New Mexico, which is like the big one that everybody knows.
Same year, though.
He's married to Roseanne
same
Barr.
year.
Okay, let's get on with it.
I think like maybe like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before. No, it'd be like a week or two before Roswell.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So, as for my sources here, I'm going a little lighter this week. I still ended up doing like 16 fucking pages? Anyway, so I'm going to try to get a proper book on this for what will be a larger topic on the 1947 UFO flap, because I think we can call it a UFO flap.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's
no,
the
it's-
technical term, yeah?
UFO flap is any mass amount of sightings over a certain amount of time.
I
And
thought
1947 was a good year for that.
Indeed.
that's what you installed in your door, so you didn't have to open it every time the UFO wanted to go outside.
Now, funnily enough, there was also a 67 UFO flap. 20 years later.
Well, that's another episode then, so there we
you
go. So one of my sources is the documentary The Men Who Saw the Men in Black, which came out in 2021. I'd stumbled onto it on Canopy, of all places, because I use Canopy for my class that I teach, because
Right.
I like to do documentary film. So, I stumbled on this really kind of, shitty, Men in Black documentary. But it's not great, but it did kick off my interest in the Maury Island incident.
Okay.
And I also have a few other sources worked in. I'll mention them as they come up, including some newspapers. So, to best summarize the story, though, I'm going to turn to Weird US and their account of the incident. Now, I love Weird US tour guides. Have you ever seen the Weird US publications?
I have seen them, and I need to look at them.
Yeah, they started off with Weird New Jersey.
Yes.
But since then, they've expanded into doing these, like, books for each state.
Do you really need a guide to see weird New Jersey? I mean, you just step out the front door and it's there.
He does have a point.
No, that's perfectly fair. But I think it's a pretty good summary of the event, so I'm kind of working with that, and I have some other sources peppered in. So, following the media craze of Kenneth Arnold's 1947 Mount Rainier UFOs, we have an incident that is claimed to have occurred on June 21st, 3 days before Arnold's encounter, and one that is significantly more dramatic. It is also likely the first recorded incident that included an encounter with the Men in Black.
Ooh.
Now, the 1947 Maury Island incident also bears many similarities to the Roswell incident just days later from around July 5th, 1947 to July 8th. So again, these are three major things happening very close together. This is also one of the few subsequent investigations with an attached body count. So we have that going for us here.
Remember, kids, if you're going to be looking into UFOs and the paranormal, try to die to make it extra cool.
I want to be the first person to fall out of a UFO.
Oh, I was about to say, you mean like a Christmas tree? And I was like, I just burned myself. What the fuck?
Hoisted by your own petard.
Yes.
Okay. So, Maury Island is off the Puget Sound in Washington, and it's what we'd call an inlet. I'm not going to bore us with geographical or topographical details here.
Sure.
But, the inlet, it's important because this waterway and the nearby island are essential to the logging industry, especially at the time. And it's about 6 miles west of Des Moines.
Iowa?
So,
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Not Iowa.
Wait. Des Moines?
Iowa's way in the middle of the country.
Wait.
No.
Wait.
No, Des
I got
Moines,
confused.
Washington.
Okay.
Yes.
I got real confused.
No, not Des Moines, Iowa.
I was like,
I was assuming you guys would put together that I'm still talking about Washington.
Yeah, I knew that. I was making a joke about Des Moines, Iowa.
I went to school in Mississippi. I don't know nothing.
I went to the same school as you, Kevin. You know that.
Derailed.
You can deduce that he's not talking about Des Moines, Iowa.
Anyway, logs traveling down the water would frequently escape the jams, and enterprising boatists, sailors, I don't know what you'd call. For me, a sailor is a person who sails the seas.
Yeah, I think the term is just boatman.
Yeah.
Boatman? Okay. I prefer boatist. That sounds fun.
Boatist.
So these boatists would find errant logs and bring them to the mills for a bounty. So
Interesting.
This led to a sort of informal harbor patrol and introduces our two central figures to the story, Harold Dahl and Fred Krisman. Now, there isn't as much on Harold Dahl out there, but holy shit, Fred Krisman is going to get his own episode.
Good.
I'm gonna tease a little bit of what he has attached to him later, but let's go ahead and move forward. So, also, the FBI report, which I have linked somewhere in the document, includes a note that the Tacoma Harbor Patrol was the name of a privately owned for-profit business that would charge owners of vacation homes on the island for keeping an eye on their property. So it was basically like a private security racket as well.
Boat mob in color.
So, the incident itself, on June 21st, 1947, Dahl reported that he had been on his boat with two other men, his son, and his dog. Around 2 p.m., the boat was on the approach to Maury Island. Something caught his attention, though, and he glanced skyward. Now, what he saw were 6 objects floating about 2,000 feet above his boat. He described them as donut-shaped, reflective, and about 100 feet in diameter. Now, when I say donut-shaped, I mean they appeared to have holes punched into their centers of about 25 feet. He also claimed to have seen portholes and observation windows on the crafts.
Now, that's interesting. You used to get this a lot with sightings of UFOs back in the old days. And and now you don't. It's sort of like how we used to see saucers and triangles when people reported UFOs. And now we're getting into orbs. And I just think that's interesting.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a little bit, like how the UFOs kind of will how we perceive them has changed based on like our understanding of technology.
Right. Kind of like the super spectrum, which I'm kind of glad you weren't here for that one. My brain still hurts.
So another thing was that their flight pattern was also striking, as 5 of the UFOs orbited the 6th, which dropped slowly toward the surface of the water and hovered about 500 feet off Puget Sound.
Interesting.
Now, freaked out and worried about his livelihood because he didn't want his boat damaged, they made it back to the shore of the island and began to take photographs. I'm going to quote Weird US for this. All right, and this is a little bit of a quote-a-thon here, but I like the way that they wrote this.
Sure.
The lower ship stayed in position for about 5 minutes with the others still circling above. One of the ships left the formation and moved down, touching the lower ships.
Ooh.
The 2 kept in contact for several minutes until Dahl said he heard a thud. Suddenly, thousands of pieces of what he thought were newspapers dropped from the inside of the center ship. Most of the debris landed in the bay, though some hit the beach. Dahl recovered a few pieces, finding it was a white, lightweight metal. Along with the white metal, the ship dropped about 20 tons of dark metal, which he said looked like lava rock. When the lava rock hit the water, it was so hot that steam erupted. They took cover after several pieces landed on his boat, damaging it. The debris hit his son on the arm, burning him, and another piece killed his dog. So it looks like this week I'm the dog murderer.
Well, no one think of the dogs.
Right, you know, if we ever mention a dog in an episode, that's probably not a good sign.
Yeah, Mike,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you should mention dogs.
So I'm going to go ahead and continue here. After the rain of metal, the craft rose into the air and headed west out to sea together. Dahl went to his boat and tried to radio for help, but it did not work. They sailed back toward their dock, dropping the dog over the side as a burial at sea.
Oh, God.
Dahl took his son to the hospital for treatment and then told his boss, Fred Chrisman, what had happened.
How in the hell have I not heard of this?
You know, again, like, it's actually a very popular case, but, like, it reached its peak in, like, the 50s and 60s.
Okay, that's fair.
The other thing is we're going to find out that this is probably a hoax. So that's the other aspect of this. But the story's fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and dub this section Enter Chrisman to the tune of Enter Sandman. All right. So Dahl gave Chrisman the camera, and then Dahl developed the photos, which allegedly showed the ships in the air.
Okay.
However, the negatives were damaged, which Chrisman claimed was akin to radiation damage. Why would he know this? That is a story for another time.
I'm also not quite sure how much radiation can damage photographic negatives.
Right, and specifically the photos were damaged because there were just like spots on the photos.
Yeah, I mean, because it's silver halides, which shouldn't be too affected by radiation.
You keep your science out of this.
Maybe it would could damage the gel stock, but I don't know about the actual photographic emulsion.
I
have a simple answer. I have a simple answer to this.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. You know. But I'm buying into the narrative and explaining bloody.
Oh, now you pull that shit out. You son of a
man,
bitch.
That's great. Okay, so fuck you. Anyway, so Chrisman says that he didn't believe Dahl, which, knowing Chrisman, that's hilarious to me. Anyway, so Chrisman went to Maury Island to investigate for himself to collect the rock samples of the mystery dog-killing ore.
Murderanium is a very rare and dangerous.
I guess this is the ore they make automotive coolant out of.
Yes.
So, Chrisman claims that one of the airships returned and appeared to be watching him.
You know, I could go off on a tangent right now about the way UFOs seem to react to people mentally in situations like this, but I'm going to save that for another episode.
So
it reminds me of Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I ever found a UFO watching me alone, maybe I'd just like sit down and have a wank. You know.
Hey, do you know what
just
happened?
Getting off on it.
Do you know what happened when VS Boas did that?
Huh.
They took him up in it, and he got to make it with an alien chick.
Sweet.
Actually, she hated it.
You don't know that.
No, I actually the Haunted Museum did a podcast episode recently about the Betty Barney Hill abduction, and they talk about the incident where, because I remember distinctly in that episode where we talked about that, you mentioned that she rubbed her tummy and pointed to the sky.
Yes.
But like the impression that I got from their coverage of it was like that she hated it, like she found him disgusting. And he's just like, it's still great.
I think that's them projecting.
Okay, that's fair. It's still a great podcast, by the way.
I would love to debate with the Newkirks about this.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he didn't warm up the engine first.
Oh,
yeah.
He did more poking and not enough stroking.
There you go.
So, so Chrisman goes back. He gets he has his encounter, which sounds like it's just kind of like a Me Too thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, I saw it too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yes.
Yeah. So here's where the Men in Black enter the story here.
Oh,
fucking
good.
Finally, right?
Yeah, finally, Jesus.
So, Dahl reported the incident to local authorities, and shortly after, a man in a black suit visited him, inviting him to breakfast.
Wait a minute, what?
In an incredibly stupid move, Dahl followed the stranger to a second location, following the nice new Buick that Man in Black drove.
God damn it.
Now, the idea of the car being an identifiable model is interesting to me here, as we've established before that the MIB vehicles tend to be vague. That said, a Buick is an appropriately generic government vehicle.
Because it's easily mistaken for a Cadillac.
Yeah, Buick is just the
it's just there. We had a Buick.
You're not successful enough to have a Cadillac.
You're not poor enough to have a Pontiac.
Yeah, you're just like okay. So you're a middle manager. You're a accountant.
Yeah, you couldn't get a car with an "ack" at the end.
Yeah, so you just I'll get a Buick.
Yeah,
right. That's a ring endorsement. Buick, call us.
Yeah. Well,
buy Buick. It's
there.
It was the car brand that was so popular in China that it wasn't killed by the government bailout.
There you go.
There you go. So I think this breakfast is also a good example of high strangeness. Mike's probably going to debate me on whether or not this is high strangeness or not. But the stranger asked Dahl no questions. Rather, the stranger replayed the entire encounter to Dahl and then warned Dahl that bad things would happen to him and his family if they discussed the incident.
I swear to God, if you ever tell anyone about what you saw, I am going to have Zibnak core your asshole out. How are the eggs? Are they too runny?
And I can't get any details on whether or not this Man in Black ate anything. I want to imagine he's just sitting there.
He's sitting
staring at this guy eating his moons over my hammy.
I just picture him cutting up a waffle and stacking the individual cut pieces into a tower while threatening to murder this guy's family.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, number one, the Man in Black offers him hey, well, let's go to breakfast, and then says asks no questions at all, which is why you assume he's there, and instead just tells you the entire experience that you've had up to that point.
You know what? This sounds like a Weird Al Yankovic cover of a Men at Work song.
It kind of does, yeah.
He brought me in and gave me breakfast.
So, around a month after the incident, Dahl and Chrisman would seemingly ignore this warning from the Man in Black.
God damn it.
And they sent a package of metal fragments and an associated letter of the incident to Ray Palmer in Chicago, who would later launch Fate magazine. Now, Ray Palmer should be familiar to us, yes?
Wasn't he the Atom?
The Atom was named after him, yes.
Okay.
So Ray Palmer was a science fiction author who published a lot of Weird Tales type publications,
yes.
Who was very influential in early UFO research, and
right.
he gets connected to this because Kenneth Arnold now enters the story, accompanied by airline pilot E.J. Smith on behalf of Ray Palmer. Ray Palmer hires Kenneth Arnold to talk to Dahl and Chrisman.
It's interesting.
It's a very like narrow pool of people here at this point.
Yeah, it's before the scene blew up where you could have like Isaac Asimov and oh my god, Scientology guy.
L. Ron.
L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron. You could have them hanging out in the same restaurant.
Yeah. So Arnold and Smith, they go to talk to Dahl and Krisman. Now, you may be asking me, David, what about the pictures?
Yeah, David, what about the pictures?
The simple answer is that Dahl and Krisman didn't produce the pictures.
Radiation damage. Or MIB stealing them. What happened?
Or not existing.
Yeah, there's no, like, they never turned any pictures over.
Oh, the cat ate them.
Yeah, probably. We know it wasn't the dog.
Yeah, the dog's dead.
It was another dog.
They threw it over the side of the fucking boat.
I hear my wife in the background, like, going, "Aw," every time I mention the dog.
Oh, man. I feel so bad for Holly right now.
Right.
Having to hear about dog murder.
So, they don't turn over these photos. Also, in a bit of weirdness, Dahl would also tell Arnold that his son had disappeared. Though later it was revealed that his son was in Montana working at a diner, but the son claims he doesn't know how he got there. Super weird.
Look, I've been wake up in bed, blackout drunk, and not know how I got there, but I've never been wake up a short order cook in Montana, blackout drunk.
You know, just once I want to get so drunk that I wake up as an employee of a Waffle House.
I think that happened.
I don't know that I'd complain.
Look, there's so many Waffle Houses down here, and I have so much liquor. You just come visit. I can make it happen.
Yeah, no,
when I
make
finally
that
come
life
by,
change.
that's going to be a thing. That I'm gonna end up. You're gonna get a photo of me like eyes red and puffy, just at like over the griddle at a Waffle House, just like what's going on?
5:30 a.m.
Do you want those smothered or covered?
Yes.
Why choose?
Exactly.
Look, I'll tell you exactly what I tell everyone when that's asked. Scattered, smothered, covered, please.
So, all of this also, while this is happening, like Roswell has already happened.
Right.
Right. So now we're, days after this interview with, everything like that. On July 31st, 1947, Captain Lee Davidson and First Lieutenant Frank Brown of the U.S. Army Air Force, still relatively new as an institution, flew to Tacoma, Washington from Hamilton Field, California. Now, this is when the Air Force was still part of the Army.
Right.
And even then, the Air Force was still pretty new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think... Air Force... when did the Army Air Force start? Like the late 30s?
Pretty much as soon as airplanes became a thing. I'm pretty sure some of the Army Air Corps' first planes were Wright brothers.
So, like
Yeah.
World War One.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So this is just before the U.S. Army Air Force becomes just the Air Force itself.
Right.
So these two gentlemen were not simply pilots. They were also intelligence specialists. So basically government spooks with flight time.
That's kind of cool, though.
Well, they could, if being Air Force and intelligence specialists, they could have just been like spy plane flyers.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, they are the chair force after all. So there you go.
Ooh.
I know some Marines, and that's the joke. They're the chair force.
No, I've heard.
Well,
Yeah.
there's also the other the joke about the Marines. You ever heard that?
What's that?
If you give a Marine 2 ball bearings, he'll end up breaking at least one of them.
I thought it was like he'll eat at least 2 of them.
No.
My mom said I could tear up a steel marble, so...
So, Davidson and Brown met with Dahl and Krisman for several hours, but they were in a hurry to return to Hamilton Field because on August 1st, the Air Force was officially going to split from the U.S. Army. Again, like the timeline here is really crazy. There's a lot going on.
So they had to serve the papers.
Is that true?
No, I'm guessing they had to serve the divorce papers.
Oh, you're going for a joke there. And I missed it.
I'm sorry. I should have flagged that as a joke with the proper hand symbol.
Yeah, you know that we have to mark jokes, in such a
I'm
syntax.
so sorry.
Kevin, you did not properly use the SARC mark.
I'm sorry. I'll do that next time. Jeez. What
At least it wasn't as bad as the
Killjoys? Jesus.
It wasn't as bad as the time that you were waiting for me to launch in with a joke that I had written into the script.
And you were
I
just
completely
staring
ignored
off
it.
into space. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It wasn't
this
that
one's
bad,
on me
but
again.
Okay. Well,
So,
we're all tired, so it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So the two men flew out from McCord Airfield in Washington around 2 a.m. on August 1st, 1947, in a B-25 bomber with two other enlisted men. About 25 minutes into the air, however, the plane crashed near Centralia, Washington.
You never leave that early in the morning.
Kevin, you know what the B-25 is?
What's that?
The Mitchell.
Mitchell!
Waka Jawaka.
A movie with Bouncer Wow, and it is okay by me. So
I think we saw Mitchell. I think when we went saw the
air
bombers.
show.
Yeah,
Was
well,
that
not the
what
air show, but the little where the bombers flew in. Remember at the field here?
Oh right, yes. We saw one.
Yeah, that was I think it was a Mitchell and a Stratofortress.
Yes, they were both very cool.
It's a big plane, right? It's
Yeah,
like
it's
a big,
pretty fucking big.
So the Mitchell,
bomber.
if I remember right, the Mitchell was the one that the Doolittle Raiders used. It's a twin engine bomber, but was small. It was big enough, but it was just barely small enough that they could launch it off of aircraft carriers.
Right.
But it could never land on an aircraft carrier, so it was basically
no.
a one-way trip.
Yep, you died.
Okay.
No,
not
sorry,
die, but
I'm joking.
but the
well,
Doolittle
at least
Raiders,
these two guys did.
you know,
Yeah.
went
Oh.
out, bombed Japanese bases, and then landed on mainland.
Right. So it crashed though.
No.
Yeah.
No,
So
Mike.
Sorry. I'm sorry. You're back to the story now.
Yes, we were getting back on track for a second.
Nordic
there.
track?
Yes.
Yes. So the two enlisted men managed to parachute out, but Davidson and Brown died in the crash, the first casualties of the new U.S. Air Force.
Shit.
So not even like hours old, and they're dead.
Well, luckily the Space Force, avoided that kind of track record.
So far.
Well, I mean, not within hours of its
Okay, yeah.
is incorporation or whatever you call it, founding. Hours after its founding, people died.
Yeah. So, again, I'm going to quote Weird US here. Quote, Dahl and Krisman said that the Air Force officers took some of the strange metal on board. People thought that they heard anti-aircraft guns shoot the plane down. The local newspapers and FBI received phone calls stating that the plane was shot down to cover up the information Brown and Davidson had found. Because of the loss of life, the Air Force broadened its investigation, and the FBI launched their own. So, as for these investigations, the Air Force determined that the crash was an accident, which is fair. I would trust them here. The crash... Yeah. The crash was likely the result of an engine fire and a broken wing that resulted in a spin-out before Davidson and Brown could escape.
Yes, what was the engine fire caused by aircraft artillery?
That's the conspiracy, right?
Right.
So, the FBI and Air Force continued to investigate the Maury Island incident. There was no sign of the photographs. The damage to the boat didn't match the claims of Dahl and Krisman, and the ore appeared to be simple slag, or in some accounts, aluminum or aluminium for the British.
Are we really going to pander to the British?
Well, I'm mostly making fun of those Muppets. Anyway.
Jesus.
Aluminium.
I'm Harry Potter and I use aluminium foil. Oh, I've just lost like the whole fucking country now.
Aluminium Leviosa.
Oh,
Anyway.
fuck.
Some accounts I found even suggest that Krisman and Dahl confessed to making the Maury Island incident up. Shock, shock. But it isn't really a general consensus between the 10 different accounts that I read, because I dug up as many of these as I could find to see what the different things are saying, and the details vary between them. In some accounts it's Dahl's son who gets hit by some of that slag. In another one, it's another worker.
Okay.
Right. So again, like the account varies, and I need to get a hold of the book to double check this stuff. But anyway, the FBI warned Dahl and Krisman that their perpetuating a hoax might bring them into legal trouble given the officers' deaths.
That'll happen.
However, by 1950, Chrisman continued to talk about the event, and Kenneth Arnold would include the incident in his 1952 book, The Coming of the Saucers.
That's porn.
So, yeah, The Coming of the Saucers. You're going to have a huge wad on your hand.
Yeah.
Anyway, here the aftermath of all of this. So, there is the obvious theory that a shadowy branch of the government covered up the incident by sabotaging the bomber. I'm not really going to humor that. It's low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Now, the general consensus is that the Maury Island incident is a hoax. Chrisman, an interesting figure, would also change his explanation of the event that he only had a second-hand experience with. So this is from How Stuff Works, which I find hilarious that this was on How Stuff Works.
I was going to say.
Before his death, Chrisman was peddling a new, improved, UFO-less version of the Maury Island story. He now claimed that the truth involved not flying donuts dropping slag, but something even more dangerous, illegal dumping by the military aircraft of radioactive waste into the harbor. Though this tale was no less tall than his earlier one, it has already entered UFO literature as the solution to the Maury Island mystery. Now, even Captain Edward Ruppelt of Project Blue Book argues that the Maury Island incident was a hoax. This incident would also be mentioned in the legendary book They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers by Grave Barker.
Oh, boy.
It would also be included in the Majestic 12 documents. Craig Glenday cites the incident in his 1999 book, The UFO Investigator's Handbook. So this is a pretty common story.
Okay.
The reason why we don't hear about it much is because, like,
It's
pretty much
considered
like,
a hoax.
Yeah, it's considered a hoax. So we have a case of a likely hoax that landed at just the right time, the corresponding 1947 UFO flap, and would cement itself in the discourse and bear many of the hallmarks of what would become common elements of this UFO craze. Now, before I close out here, I want to emphasize that I haven't even begun to scratch the surface regarding Chrisman's unique role and life in this show. We're talking CIA-backed anti-Castro weapons programs, the JFK assassination conspiracy, and fighting mole men in World War II.
Wait a minute, mole men?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, this is perfect.
So thoughts?
Personally, okay, I think that at the core, there's a perfectly good, interesting UFO experience that once Chrisman got involved was blown out of proportion, Gray Barker style. And I think Chrisman was a stranger to the truth and just flat out couldn't stop talking. Mike?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Honestly, I was doing B-25 research.
God damn it.
I missed part of it.
Well, shit. Well, okay. Anyway, so
It's all bullshit.
It's obviously a hoax, but it's funny that like it predates two of the biggest moments in the 1947 UFO flap, and it sets the tone for so much that's going on during that time and afterward.
Yeah, and I really like that you use the term flying saucer craze because it really was. And 47 was insane.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to have to do an entire episode on the summer of 47.
Oh, God, that's going to be great. Because 47, they even had like the sightings over the White House, didn't they?
I believe so, yes.
I think that was part of the 47 flap. So, my last topic for today is a weird one.
No shit.
Yeah, I know. Like the others were normal. So, Mike, I know you're reading about airplanes.
No, stop.
Okay.
I went down a rabbit hole because I was looking, because when we were talking about the airplane crashing, I was like, and them attributing it to
Aircraft artillery?
Yeah, or something. I was going like, I know airplanes of that era, some of the engines were known problematic. So I was looking up to see what kind of engine the B-25 had. And turns out it wasn't. So it had the right Cyclone R2600, which was, as far as I remember, it's a fairly bulletproof engine.
Okay.
There were the more higher powered engines that were going in the bigger planes had a lot of teething problems. But
Right.
by the end of the war, anyway, they were
Yeah.
all pretty
Right,
much
right,
ironed
right.
out. It was all mid-war stuff that they were
Gotcha.
having problems trying to rush everything into production.
Now, Kevin, before you continue, Holly just like got up. She grabbed the notebook and scribbled something down and handed it to me because she wants me to mention this.
Okay.
So I literally have on this notebook June 21st equals summer solstice with an arrow pointing to trickster gods. So I think you can get where she's going with that.
I fully understand where she's going with that.
But I figured you would appreciate that, like, she got up, she paused Animal Crossing, got up, and wrote that down and handed it to me.
Thank you.
So just
thank her for me because, yes, I totally understand that. I'm going to go get my cyclometer and find some tin cans.
there you go.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, so my last topic. This is about Peter Beckman. Now, Peter Beckman is an actor. He got his start in the movie Chud 2, Bud the Chud. And he's been a voice actor in games like the more recent Street Fighter games as Zangief and in some of the Final Fantasy games. And he does a lot of anime voiceover. And I will have a link to his IMDb in the doc.
I love Chud 2.
I don't think I've seen Chud 2.
Like obviously Chud's fantastic, but Chud 2 is pretty fun.
Okay. Well, it's like House is an interesting movie, and House 2 is insane, and I love it. It's funny. You've seen House 2, right? It's got like a prospector zombie and some kind of a alien caterpillar puppy.
A while back, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this story starts around 1969 or 1970. It's a little vague in his story, and I wonder why.
Now, here's a quick question. Was this during the summer of 69?
I want to throw Brian Adams
No,
at you.
well, because I'm asking for two reasons. Number one, because it's a funny fucking joke. Number two, we've already established summer is an interesting thing here.
You know, I'm not positive.
Okay.
He does
That's
not
fair,
say.
right? Okay. Well,
But-
we'll assume. We'll assume.
But actually, it's funny you mentioned that. John Keel in Eighth Tower talks about how they tend to happen at certain times of year. So, and I think they talk about that in Hellier as well. But so anyway, 69 or 70, it is. God, you made me forget his name. Peter Beckman is hanging out with his friend Stephen Leeson. Now, I'm including that name here because it isn't often that a witness provides, that actual information. Now, Peter and Stephen are hanging out at his parents' place since his parents are out of town, and they lived in the middle of nowhere with no neighbors, which means around 1 p.m. it was time for mescaline. Woo!
As one does.
Yeah. So, for the next 8 or 9 hours, they sit there listening to the soundtrack from Rosemary's Baby because that sounds like a great idea.
Now, to be fair, this sounds like something I would do. Though for me, it might be the Suspiria soundtrack.
Hey, whatever causes you to have like a horrible experience.
Exactly.
So he says the mescaline had worn off sometime around 10 p.m.
Now, I swear to God, I've read that line in a Hunter S. Thompson book.
I know. God damn it. Now, I'm going to let Peter tell this next part of his own story. So, quote, as one of the tracks ended, I noticed a kind of change in the air. A shift. A weird shift. It was a change in the mood of the place. And then the Black Mass track comes on. Then things really changed. It seemed to me like we were in my living room, but also someplace else. In the southwest corner of the room was a dining table, which was overhung by a large lamp on a chain, about 9 or 10 feet off the ground. We both saw the lamp change into a dark black hooded figure. There were, it seemed to me, 2 or 3 of them, and the other 2 were standing a few feet in back of the main one. And we were like locked in place staring at them. I don't remember seeing any eyes or anything. Then suddenly, nothing. They were gone.
So, I like that although they were high as balls, the more reasonable assumption is that they're encountering a pocket of high strangeness.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that.
when you're tripping like hell, but they were totally there.
Well, yeah, no, because obviously, the drugs had completely and absolutely worn off with no side effects
Yeah,
or
the
ramifications.
mescaline had
No
worn out by 10
aftershocks,
p.m.
no,
Yeah. Yeah. So they're really confused at this point, as one would be, and they decide, you know what, we need to smoke some hash to take the edge off.
It's like fucking Trailer Park Boys.
Very not Scott, Hunter S. Thompson.
Isn't it, though? Yes.
Sounding
This
thing.
whole thing reeks of Hunter S. Thompson. So that's when a car starts driving up their long, unpaved driveway about 11 p.m.
So that was a question I had earlier. I didn't see a mention. Do you know where this was? Like
California?
Okay, California.
A lot of
Sounds
this
about
is in
right.
California.
Well, nice weather, so that's where all the
West
aliens
Coast,
hang
Best
out.
Coast.
Yep. The car was described...
Even that's
sorry.
probably David's probably an alien.
I don't know that
It's
David's
entire-
an alien. I think he's more of a Swatchkin.
Have you ever met him
Here-
in person?
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, here's the
Well,
thing.
they could
Like,
be fake pictures.
no one knows you're an alien online, so,
That's
like,
true.
again.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you. Start over.
Okay. Well, the car was described as being of no... Now, again, this car is pulling up their long, unpaved driveway at 11 p.m. at night, and they have been smoking hash to come down off the mescaline. Again, just to get that out there. The car was described as being of no particular make or model that they could identify.
Sounds like some people that really don't know their cars.
Like someone just sort of drew an approximation of what a 1950s style car would look like without having to pay copyright. And again, this actually tracks with a surprising number of MIB sightings. It's always an unidentifiable old car.
Which seems like way more effort than just like aping a existing car.
Well, and
Because someone has to design that shit.
right.
The Man in Black designer that has to draw and create this bespoke car.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also interesting because, like, when I talked about the Maury Island incident, the car was easily discernible, which one could argue means that encounter was fake. Because again, it's more common for the MIB encounters to have cars that are so vague and nondescript. To actually be able to
Yeah.
name the model of the car is like one of those, like, well, that doesn't sound real.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like they drove up in one of those cars from Batman the Animated Series that just looks old but isn't a real car. So they pull up in this unidentifiable car, and 3 men get out and come to the door. Now, they were pale in the porch light and wearing old school 1950s style black G-men outfits. But the suits were like loose, hanging really loose, like they were several sizes too big. And the description of the gentleman was sickly and like they were, quote, having trouble breathing.
Now, this sounds like Review Bra to me.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know Review Bra?
I don't.
I will send you a link after the show, and then you will
Okay.
understand what the joke is, because you're going to laugh.
Okay. Now, these weird, semi-inhuman things are standing there in the porch light at the door after a horrifying experience, and Peter opened the door. Because Steven said, well, better let him in. Which also tracks with typical Men in Black encounters. It's always like, may I come in? Please, I need to come in and speak to you, please. And they always let him in.
Well, remember, if you're cold, they're cold.
Okay, that's fair. You need to let your Men in Black in. So the 3 men walked in. They sit down on the couch. And they just stare at Peter and Steven. They just stared. They just sat there, gasping and wheezing and croaking and smirking at them every now and again, like there was something really funny about all this. And after a few minutes, Peter finally, it sinks through. He gets properly terrified and just screams, "Well, what do you want?" And they just sit there and stare at them. And then Peter just sits here thinking how much he would love for these three assholes to get out of his parents' house. And with that, they stand up and just walk out the door, get in their car, and the car just vanishes. And that was the only experience he ever had with the Men in Black.
This is an incredible story.
So I think they were just sickly nerds that didn't have their asthma medication. Maybe they were. This could have been from the era when they allowed Mormons to drive.
No, it wasn't.
They were
that
missionaries.
was the 80s.
And when was this?
69, 70?
Okay, well maybe they were Pentecostals. I don't know.
God damn it.
But they came in, and because they're still full of hash. They're coming down on mescaline and full of hash. They just don't hear what they're saying. It's just like what they're talking just sounds like, panting to them.
Now,
Just
like you were saying.
and then he thinks he thought, "I wish these assholes would get in my house," but he actually yelled it out loud. He had no
He said
internal monologue.
he said the quiet part out loud.
Yes,
again.
and they were like, "Oh well, fuck these guys. You let
No.
us in, but whatever," and they just left.
Now, minus the mescaline.
And the hash.
And the hash. And the acid they'd done the previous day.
Oh, you didn't mention that.
No, I didn't. This could be a truly chilling story. But then there's that whole drug thing.
It has unreliable narrator, like not even writ large. It's just like baked into it.
Now, what do we think?
Well,
I just
okay.
told you.
David, how about you?
Well, okay. So number one, like at first you're like, well, there's nothing really weird going on that lures the Men in Black there, because that's usually a thing that happens, right? There's some sort of moment or there's something that they see that lure the Men in Black in. But I thought about this quite a bit. So, obviously we dismissed the drug usage a bit for obvious reasons. Like, okay, obviously they're just really high and they saw shit. Like, I get it. Mm-hmm. That being said, the usage of drugs and tapping into altered states of consciousness and reality is a historical thing, right?
Right.
Shamanism and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So who is to say they weren't unintentionally undergoing a ritual? So combining the mescaline and the charged energy of the Rosemary's Baby soundtrack seems like a recipe for some sort of awakening, because we also have to take into account Rosemary's Baby is a very, very strange film. It is reportedly cursed.
Yes.
Because of what happened. There's a lot of energy surrounding that. So it could be that they were unintentionally...
So you're saying like the vibe...
Yeah, the vibes were fucked. Absolutely. But no, like just this idea of like, okay, number one, the altered state of consciousness from the drugs and listening to something that is so incredibly charged, such as the soundtrack to a film that like scared the shit out of people, but also had its own dark history. I could see that as tapping into something. It's kind of like, to bring back like Hellier and that sort of thing, like the Estes method of...
Oh, right.
Again, like putting yourself in these kind of sensory moments, and they
So are
just
we
like,
talking about the
they
thing
fucked up.
where
They fucked up and set up a beacon.
now you have fucked up.
So if that was all the thing, right? If that was all true or a thing, then they should have been seeing like the world entity or Vishnu or something, not three freaking extraterrestrial liaisons.
Now, you and I have a mutual friend, Mike, that I have asked about
but
I was like, okay, when you were on psilocybin, did you ever meet anything that you would consider the guardian of the threshold? And he was like, oh, yes. Yes, I have met him. I have seen the entities. I was like, oh.
Well, see, here's the thing is that our brains, have areas that are just for, social things. That's where we keep all our social tools. They're the social drawer toolbox. And it could just be those drugs like activate that and just make us see and feel beings and entities. It's like you're in a house, right? You can be in a house and there's someone there, but you just don't know there's someone else in the house. It feels completely different when you know there's someone in the house versus when you don't.
So you're saying it activates somebody's home.
It activates, yeah. I'm just saying that your brain perceives things differently when you know someone's around or not.
Unless we're always surrounded.
I mean, think
by
about it.
something.
I mean, you're at home. You think no one else is there.
You take your pants off.
Well, doing whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be anything like that. You're just sitting around thinking, oh, no one's home. And then the moment you realize, oh, someone's been there the whole time, the house feels different.
No, I understand.
Right. So our brains just kind of process and do things differently, with social information. And so I'm just thinking, drugs could just easily activate different parts like that. And that's just, I'm just, trying to figure out why, drugs could like do that. What you were talking about, the gatekeeper.
The guardian of the threshold.
Well, and I totally get where you're going with that. The other reason they might have just seen Men in Black is because, again, at this point in the 1970s, like late 1970s, early 1980s, the Men in Black are like a known thing. It's again, like the pop culture osmosis going on here.
69, 70, and he also he could have just been terrified of the authorities because he was real fucking high.
They could have been high as balls and started saying, "What if the police show up?"
Mm-hmm.
They could have talked themselves into it, sure, but
I'm just saying that if you're going like going by a Men in Black encounter, it makes no sense for them to show up here. Because there was no UFO sighting, no other
sighting or anything
thing for them. Now, it's just, otherwise it just reads as bored-ass Men in Black who say, oh, someone's pinging on our tripping balls meter. Let's go fuck with them.
Or, hey, these guys have just drifted into the wavelength we exist on in the super spectrum.
God damn it.
Let's go fuck with them.
Yeah, they're expecting to see like a fucking shaman, and meanwhile it's two dudes who are just absolutely fucking baked eating pizza.
Yeah.
Kevin, I'm going to give you a dildo that says Super Spectrum just so you can fuck yourself with it.
The look he gave me, my God. Well, that's kind of it for the Men in Black. We are going to do another episode where we're going to talk about the nature of the Men in Black, because I have heard some really interesting stuff just today on Mysterious Universe that I want to go back and do some research on. And try not to use the term super spectrum when I do it. So, we've got some questions.
Woo!
I put a call out. So, questions this week. First one, of course, from Ghost Forge.
Yay!
Says, okay, and David, you know more about the Fae than I do. Maybe you know what the hell he's talking about here.
Okay.
Or as Mike said, don't want to misgender, so... Vimper Ghost Forge. If the MIB are Fae folk, are they Seelie, Unseelie, or Wild Fae? And in that context, what do you think their motivation for what they do is?
Okay, so I like that you kind of pivot to me as supposedly the Fae expert. I know, I get a general sense of what this is, but I'm not, like, an expert. But that being said, Seelies, I believe, are, like, Fae that take on the characteristics of the dead, I think. Okay. Like ancestors or something like that, I think. Because that was... Did you ever see Brave?
No.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Well, she has this thing, like, the little blue orbs of light that are like the ancestors or whatever. Those are the Seelies, I believe. As far as an unseelie, I don't know. Wild Fae, wild with a Y, by the way.
Yes.
Like, that just seems
Okay. Sorry, I just looked it up. Seelie are the ones that are helpful and warn people when they've done something offensive, and they return human kindness with favors of their own.
Okay, see, I'm not an expert.
Yes, and unseelie are the assholes.
Yeah.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia,
That's where I got it.
the Sealy Court is described as comprised of fairies that seek help from humans, warn those who have accidentally offended them, and return human kindness with favors of their own. Yeah, an unseelie court describes darkly inclined asshole fairies, basically.
Wild Fae are not bound to either court. Okay.
So they could do just whatever.
They're just assholes.
Well, no, they could do whatever. They could be,
sure.
They like you or they don't like you.
It sounds to me like we're going to have to do like a dive into this, because I want to do more folkloric stuff.
Sure,
I want to explore yokai, for example, because there are a shitload of yokai out there.
We need to cover supernatural, not just paranormal.
Yes.
It's in the name.
So, but as far as the question, like, you and I had gotten into this when we had talked about like the superstructure and the Fae, like specifically the Fae episode about how these are things that our perception of them changes. And,
right.
I think that's getting to what this is. So I would just suggest listening to that episode.
Yeah, it's basically the phenomenon wearing a different mask depending on when and who.
Yeah.
If they're anything, I would say they're wild because they definitely don't answer to anyone. And their motivation
what are you
is
talking about the answer to the aliens.
The government?
They're not government.
I don't think they answer to the aliens necessarily. I think they
They're like running interference for them, and
they're running interference. I think they're basically feeding on fear if they're Fae, and I think that will be their motivation if they're Fae.
Yeah.
Again,
but I would listen to that episode again. I would listen to that episode. That's the Fae it is, because we kind of get into that, and I think we're gonna have to revisit that, especially like looking at the different like classifications. Because again, this is like and I always appreciate like Ghost Forge dropping this shit on me, because it's like I don't know really what these things are.
Yeah,
but like
now
there's definitely
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Wild Fae is apparently from specifically from the Dresden Files, so probably need to read those.
Fair enough.
All right. Next question, I believe, is from Holly. Mm-hmm. We've heard stories of MIB being distracted and fascinated by mundane objects like clicky pens or watches. What basic household item would you use to distract them in an escape attempt?
Kevin. No, that's what I would do. I'd shove Kevin at them and just run away.
Yeah, flummoxed by Kevin. Just, what is this thing?
What is this? What is a Kevin? I do not understand. Where is the button for this Kevin? I do not know what to do with this Kevin. David?
Because Kevin, you're pretty basic.
Oh, fuck off.
Fuck,
Jesus.
man. Ow.
Damn, son.
Shit.
Oh, burn.
Would we consider a Rubik's Cube a mundane object? Or is that specialized because it's meant to puzzle?
How do I use this? Can I summon the Hellraiser?
You'd hand a Rubik's Cube, the most scrambled Rubik's Cube ever, to them. They would just like kind of go bloop, and it's solved, and be like, that sucked.
Oh, okay, so I'm gonna say like a pill bottle with like the child safety.
Oh no, that would be them just like hours. How the fuck? What? Their heads would explode just because like, what's in it?
You know what I would? You know what I'd give them? Fucking egg beater, like the kind with the crank on it.
Yeah,
man, that's it, man. They're never doing anything again. Holy shit! When I turn the thing, the top spins. Oh my god, I love the clicking sound. This is the best thing ever.
Help! I got my dick caught.
It's a pretty big guess that they got a dick.
Yeah, I know. I'm misgendering the.
Well, it's not even that.
MIB.
I just don't think they have human genitalia at all. I think there's like what the guys on Mysterious Universe called smoothies.
They're all just Ken dolls.
Yeah, exactly. They're Ken dolls down there. They're just smooth boys.
Oh boy. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. So, third question.
Smooth boy summer.
Smooth boy summer. Woo!
It's winter
2023 is going to be the summer of the smooth boys.
in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
It's winter.
Oh, wait. No, it is summer in Australia.
Yeah. It's
There you
summer smooth boy Australia.
Yeah. Oh, that's even
Good
higher.
day, mate.
Or Australian smooth boy summer.
Good day, mate. I ain't getting the bowls. All right. So, Sam asks, so, perception filter, MIB are just crows, right?
Well, that would suggest that birds are real.
You know what? I'm going to throw you off this podcast for that. I got to put up with this from Clark at work. I don't need this from you. Actually, you know what? That's probably the best explanation for MIB I've ever heard. They're just birds.
Well, if they're crows, I have to count them.
Oh.
Well, and crows and magpies are fucking weird, right? So, like,
Yeah.
they pick up shiny things, so that would explain some of, like, the mundane objects kind of capturing their attention.
Yeah. You know what I think? I think they get to decide who lives and who dies.
I understood that reference.
Mike did too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would think a crow would be smarter than your average man in black. They're pretty smart.
Man's got a point.
Not as smart as a servo, though.
No, certainly not. Definitely smarter than a Mike Nelson. But, so, one last bit. I put a call out on
The royal we.
the Royal We. We put a call out on Horror Hub this week for, what was it I asked? I said, question for hashtag paranormal and hashtag UFO Mastodon. How many of you have seen a UFO or UAP in your life? Tell me about it. And then I explained my two, and I threatened you if you brought up a Christmas tree being thrown out of a UFO. So, we got a response, which that's why I like Mastodon. You actually get responses.
It's been great.
It has been. We got Steph at horrorhub.club responded with, the most striking thing I've seen happened 2 summers ago. I woke up in the middle of the night and for some reason went outside and saw a red pulsating orb traveling across the sky. I immediately knew it was something special, but I second-guessed myself and thought perhaps it was a shooting star. Seconds after that, though, an actual shooting star went by in a clean white arc. It really shook me up. Interesting.
Yeah.
Not to be that guy.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Whenever I hear pulsing in red, it's just like that's aircraft marker lights.
It could be, or
I mean,
it could be
Could be
something
fucking
else.
Starlink.
Oh no, I mean it's
2 summers ago?
Yeah, I think we've had
but that wouldn't
Starlink
be
for...
that wouldn't be pulsing though.
Oh, I don't fucking know. It's Elon Musk shit. I don't give a shit.
But generally pulsing in red is usually the aircraft, the red strobe light.
No, I understand.
Could have been through,
Yeah.
an atmospheric phenomenon that made
Well,
it
and then...
Pelicans.
Also...
atmospheric
pelicans.
pelicans.
It was just a
attenuated
layer
the
of
signal.
It was a layer of pelicans.
Well, and then the other thing is, like, they mentioned specifically waking up in the middle of the night, and for some reason going outside, which tells me that, like, you're not exactly in your most lucid state at that
Yeah,
point.
I mean maybe a
So,
little,
Yeah.
just a little
yeah,
sleep in
like,
your eye.
you know,
Your eyes are a little
Sure.
blurry.
Now, I
Yeah,
will
so-
say that's the exact same way I saw both of my UFOs, except that my dad was awake and was like, where the hell are you going? And backed up that I went outside and saw these things.
Now, were these the Christmas lights?
The second one was...
Oh, okay.
The first one was a black circle surrounded by red lights, slowly spinning with one red light in the center.
So they were swinging the Christmas tree around.
I am going to shove you up the Grinch's ass.
Ooh, I'm a mean one now.
Yes.
Well, Steph, thank you very much. That was a lot of fun. I
Yes.
am very appreciative of you of coming in and giving us that story. Like, I like it.
I firmly believe she saw something interesting, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it was interesting for sure.
Shooting star was interesting.
Yeah. I love when you get to, like, the one time we went out to the country and saw the meteor shower.
Yeah,
that time.
the
Perseid?
Perseid?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I want to do that again at some point. Go to a dark sky site.
Yep, that would be awesome.
Watch but no, it does remind me of I think I've told it on the show before, where we're like sitting around my house when I was still, teenager, still living with my parents.
Is this the hole in the sky?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a boom outside. And it just sounded like far off, like kind of like when you hear a distant transformer explode, but no power goes out. So go out and look, and the whole sky is just very thin, but
that thin overcast layer.
Yeah, horizon, not, I guess, overcast kind of, but if the moon was behind it,
it would be hazed.
You'd still see the disk of the moon, but it'd be very blurry.
Right.
But, yeah, right in kind of, okay, so if I orient myself, I think it was kind of to the east, if I remember the directions right. Was just this big, perfectly circular hole in the cloud layer.
Like in an anime when a laser shoots through the
Yeah,
clouds?
exactly.
Yes.
And, my guess, my best, what I could best describe what probably happened was a meteor probably exploded somewhere, was coming down and exploded at just the right altitude for the shock to blow a circular hole in the clouds.
Or God fucked the earth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or an anime laser beam shot.
Sure. It was the Avengers.
Someone could have ascended to the next plane of existence. And that was the beam shooting up into the sky.
Yep.
There you go.
That's it.
It's the fucking rapture.
Yep.
But I'm going to stick
one good person.
I'm going to stick with the meteor.
It was the fucking one good person going to heaven, and we're all in hell now.
Yeah.
Yep. Now,
Actually,
gentlemen,
I
need you to go to Host Talk and look at the two pictures I posted.
Okay.
Because I mentioned Review Bra earlier.
Okay. We're going to Host Talk.
Yeah, Host Talk.
There it is.
Host Talk. Oh, that guy.
That guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The food
and now,
guy.
If you search for Review Bra on Google, the top question people ask is Review Bra a human?
I mean...
I've never seen someone with the Innsmouth look quite so much.
I love this guy.
Yeah, no, I love that one where he ate something and he said, "This has ruined my day." Yeah.
Yeah, I watched him review a Wendy's chicken sandwich the other day, and he was just masterful at the shade with that thing. I was like, oh man, what a wordsmith. But now the joke makes sense.
Yes, now the joke makes sense. Now, at the end of all things, does the joke make sense?
I feel like leaving off with Review Bra should make us feel good. Everybody go to his YouTube channel, watch his shit. He's great.
Well, he does. I think he might be like a man in black that is trying to live as a human.
I think he's like the mid-stage between one of the black-eyed kids and a man in black.
Because, the suit, he does look sickly. That could be all the fast food he eats.
Yeah, he really does match the description from that story.
For all the fast food he eats, he's very, very skinny. And that suit just hangs off of him.
Yep.
The suits, I wish he would wear a suit that's tailored to him. Well, I think he would look a lot better.
I think the point is...
He must make
I know the point is to look that way, but
he must
also
make YouTube money at this point, right?
I want to see him in a tailored suit at some point because I think it would be good for him to have at least one suit that fits.
I think he'd look like David Tennant. He'd look like a scarecrow.
But I just feel like we needed to close it out with Review Bra.
That's fine.
Like I said, if he does make YouTube money, he probably has good suits. He just wears
shitty ones,
off the rack suits to look like a man in black.
He's an off the rack asshole.
Oh, he's a nice boy.
He doesn't seem like an asshole.
I'm not saying he's an asshole. Oh, Bubba, don't you worry. He's just such a good boy. Oh my God, he is just the bestest boy. I love that child so much. Let me tell you something. I have a niece. Mr. Review Bra, you would love her. She would really bop on your schmeckle. All right. With that, we're going to close. I want to thank everyone for listening. Again, you can find everything you need to about the show at supernatpod.rocks, including our Patreon, links to the Discord, our new store, and I got a new article up this week in the news section. David, whenever you can get one up there.
Yes, sure.
So... yes,
no, I know. I feel terrible. I feel terrible, but yeah.
No, I don't mean to make you feel terrible. But remember, supernatpod.rocks for all your supernatural selection needs. And yeah, David, you can find you're at HPKOMIC at horrorhub.club on Mastodon.
Yeah.
We have officially abandoned
Twitter. The easiest way to find me on the fucking internet, go to hpcomics.com, and then my social media is all up in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, it's HPKOMIC. S.com. Right. All right, Mike, is there anything you'd like to plug?
The ozone hole.
Ooh, good answer.
Thoughtful.
Nice. Very thoughtful for 1987.
Yeah, I just came up with that like 2 seconds ago.
Man.
How is that doing, by the way? How is that ozone hole?
I'm pretty
better,
sure it got
actually.
Like it's not a problem anymore. It's like there's always going to be an ozone hole because the problem was we just made it bigger.
We really goat-seed the shit out of it.
Man,
we like put that wedding ring on and just stretched it with our CFCs.
We engaged the shit out of it.
Yeah, you think of the chlorofluorocarbons as like the extra large butt plug that's like the size of a dinner plate.
I feel
the
sick.
CFCs
Thank you for
fingers,
listening, everyone.
And it's been working with the squeeze ball.
Jesus Christ. Okay, guys, we will see you next week for something. So until then, everybody stay safe and stay frosty. Goodbye. Bye. Gaping ozone holes.
Well, looking at the review guy, he's wearing better suits nowadays. Like he actually, I mean, like really fancy looking suits.